What's up, y'all? Today's the 25th of October, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. This is a video on our main side. I'll do it as I do, talk about each of the four sides to In The Image Clothing Company. I'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll get into this discussion. But this video is titled, Wearing a Shirt with the Dreaded Collar Seam. Because this shirt here has what we call the dreaded collar seam. Under In The Image Clothing Company, right, this little seam in the collar that goes around our top, the collar does, should be centered and even all the way around. And where that seam is placed, it just causes the shirt to be imbalanced. And as you go throughout this video, you can just see that happening on me. It'll cause the shirt to fall off to the other side from where the dreaded collar seam is placed. And it's almost always on the upper left side of tops, just about always. You know, we talk about the right-handed world and these patternings we get into, and a lot of that is, as you can see here, this dreaded collar seam causing this to happen. As I bend my arms here, my right arm touches the sleeve and my left one doesn't, because the left side's where that seam's placed. It's just twice as thick of material there, because it's folded under and stitched together, and so it just sits higher, and then the right side drops. And so we've got a lot of videos talking about this, but I just wanted to give a little context before I get into our intro, so throughout this video you can just watch the mechanics that it puts my body into, you know, body mechanics. We talk about the human body, and so I will. But I wanted to give a little introduction throughout this video. That's the point of this video. We talk about the dreaded collar seam so often. We talk about In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification so often. And this shirt's actually wonderful, and I'll wear it. And after this video, I'll do the dreaded collar seam modification to it, right? In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. And then anytime you ever see me wearing this shirt, if you can tell that it's the same shirt from today's date 4th, or just after this video, I'll go do the modification right after, you'll be able to see that it doesn't fit me like this, but it actually will fit nice and centered. That's what In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification does, is allow that excess material and thickness to drop down and back, keep those shoulder seams even, and then we can keep our short sleeves even, right? The importance of even short sleeves. A video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company goes right along with the importance of even forearm rotations, because if you don't have even short sleeves, your forearm rotations won't be even. And as you can see here, just as I bend my arms, my right forearm here between my elbow and my wrist, right? The forearm, these two bones that rotate, hit this right sleeve cuff of the short sleeve, because the excess material where the dreaded collar seam is placed causes the other side to drop lower. Okay, actually I won't even do this how I normally do it. Weird. That's fine, that's good. You know, normally I talk about each of the four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. The main side here, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, and In The Image Clothing Company Music. And then I talk about where clothing sits on the body, and then we get into the discussion after, but I won't do that for this, because I want this to be a very, you know, relatively short and to the point video, and I've actually discussed a lot in this already that I would have discussed after the intro. A lot of our videos are very long, 45 minutes, an hour, give or take, is very common around this time for In The Image Clothing Company videos to be on our main side here like this, but this video will be a lot shorter, because then you can just see the videos I referenced, right? We need just evenness to the body, and what'll happen is just the material there being thicker will just cause the collar to be uncentered, right? Keeping collars centered. A video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and as you can see, just as I shrug my shoulders and just move around, see on the left side of the rear where it's popping up, where that seam is, and on the other side it's not really doing it so much. I'll just turn all the way around with my shoulders just evenly shrugged. It doesn't even look like I'm standing even. I'm looking at myself in this monitor, and that's the point. That's the point of this video, is just showing how different the body is left to right when there's a seam around the collar of our neck, you know, or in the collar that goes around our neck. Our bodies have a center line, you know, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw, which stabilizes not just the head, but the entire body. And we've got just, you know, a discrepancy where we do, and it really just doesn't allow the body to be even. Yeah, so that's what I'll show for this video. And there you go. I mean, nice and simple, nice and sweet. Yeah, the right-handed world, the right-handed patterning we get into, right? We get out of chronic patterning and scar tissue under In The Image Clothing Company. That's our point. That's our goal with allowing the body to work through clothing, you know. And this is one of our biggest things is this dreaded collar seam, you know. The right side, or whatever side is opposing where the collar seam is placed, will just fall off to the right side. You know, that's what I mean, the right-handed world, and how clothing patterns themselves to a degree are right-handed. Yeah, this is the right-handed world, the dreaded collar seam placed on the upper left of a shoulder. Okay, it'll just cause the top to fall off to the right. So keeping collars centered, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, you know, all this musculature going through our neck. And you can see how the material just reacts differently. It reacts more on this left side than it does on the right when I just contract the musculature of my neck, because there's just that stiffness to the material. See what I mean? And it doesn't really stick off the back when you just shrug your shoulders on the right side, but it does on this left side. You know, I mean, no matter what you do, where you put the shirt, it's just uneven, because there's just thickness and stiffness to where that seam is. And, you know, our collars have to stay centered. So today's the 25th of October, 2025. I'm going to go modify this shirt before I wear it anymore, because my body feels like it's just so out of balance. You know, the jaw stabilizing the entire body, musculature and tendons going straight to the jaw, straight through the collar of our top, right from our shoulders up to our jaw, stabilizing our whole body. And then, you know, just the left side will always be higher, and really what's the focus is the right side is lower. The right side just can't work because it's just not as high up material wise as the left side. See this upper trapezius muscle here? I talk about those muscles all the time, and see how my left one's just contracted, and the right one would need to get all the way to here to be centered, and then it could contract. But this shirt just falls off to the right, just whatever side is opposing where that dreaded collar seam is placed. But I just don't wear tops that have a dreaded collar seam in them that hasn't been modified, because that's the point. I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, allowing the body to work through clothing mostly, but we talk about eating, sleeping, standing, walking, breathing, sitting, hydration. We do the same thing for dogs on In The Image Clothing Company poodles. So I don't wear things that alter my body anytime I can help it. And what I can do right now is go modify this seam. But I just purchased this shirt used, and I was like, okay, no, I haven't shown myself wearing a shirt. Look at it, just watch the collar, watch the shoulder seams, right? Watch the imbalance off to the opposing side of where the collar seam is, just as I'm wearing this. You know, watch the short sleeves sit onto my forearms where they do, rather than be off of the forearms evenly, whatever side's opposing where that collar seam is placed. That's just what happens, right? So anyway, that's the point of this, is there hasn't been a time where this could have even been documented, because, right, I do what I can to not have this even be the case, wearing anything with an imbalance like this. But it just causes you to be very imbalanced. There's just excess material there. So look at this musculature here activated. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole. And then this side, it's like, well, it's not activated as a whole, because my right side is being pulled away from my body's center line, where the musculature inserts to, at the sternum in the front from the shoulder, and at the spine in the rear from the shoulder, right? Evenly on both sides of the body, because there's just a center line, right? To rotations and to functionality, to heights of things. And it's just, we're always off to the right like this. You'll reach and you'll just do this. Rotate into this right-handed patterning, external on the right side, internal on the left, just because of the musculature that is just being changed because there's just so much stiffness to that seam. So that's really all in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification does, is just, and look at the way I'm standing. I mean, I can't even stand straight. And I mean, there's hundreds of hours, truly, of video as of today's date documented of In the Image Clothing Company from me, is that you can see my body is what I mean, because I'm the founder. To compare this to the way that I can't really, stand so centered, but you can see so many other times when I stand very centered. I preach what I have practiced. My body works very well mechanically. I mean, that's the point of this whole company and me being the founder of it. That's where I am coming from with this, and anyway, it's harder to talk. This left side of the collar sits against my neck here, and it's not so comfortable to speak. The musculature is just so different left to right. The smile will be different. The jaw will sit differently. Okay, I mean, there's so much going on. It travels down to the tip of your toes and the tips of your fingers, and you can only kind of speak with one hand. You see me talking with both hands, and I'm up here and I'm moving all the time in videos. Before today's date, like just we've got so much context of what I'm saying. You can go see, but it's hard. My right elbow will stay lower than my left. My right hand will stay lower than my left, because this seam is just higher. It needs to be able to drop back, and then we can just be even and centered. Okay, do you see what I mean? So there you go. There's your context. I mean, I feel like I'm just being pulled off to my right side. Okay, and you know it. If you know it, what we talk about under In the Image Clothing Company, the right-handed world, the right-handed patterning, and we focus on all the scar tissue that we, talk about, and all the ways and all the areas of the body that we really focus on allowing the body to work. Okay, keeping the body centered in all the ways. Just, we have to, right? There's a center line that musculature connects to and that functions a pose in the body, and then there's a center to Earth's gravity, and we just have to stay centered. It's very difficult when the seams are just uneven left to right, placed onto our bodies. We're just holding our tops up with our shoulders all day, and really what we're doing is this, essentially, just because there's that thickness to that material. Just different left to right. Okay, so this goes through the whole body, and we discuss it. I mean, this is, as I've said since the very founding of In the Image Clothing Company, one of the biggest things you could ever do for your body. It's like I have a hard time keeping my right arm up and internally rotated, because this just comes up and drops the right side forward, and I have to try to oppose it. That little tiny seam is so much of people's problems in life. I mean, so much of the reason why people are going to chiropractors, physical therapists, why they have back pain, knee pain, feet pain, hip pain, elbow pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, jaw pain. I mean, it's not an exaggeration, and that's why this video needs to be here, and it needs to, I mean, just as of now, it's a good time to do it. I mean, we have so much context up until now on the dreaded collar seam. And then I'm in this for life, Evan Strong as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. So that's one of the biggest things we can ever show anybody to do in their life is In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. I'm not joking about the level of imbalance that it causes through the entire body. Yeah, and I really can feel tension in my neck as I'm trying to speak and breathe. My right rib cage can't expand because the left side's just stuck up, and so the right side has to compensate just with Earth's gravity, and my right rib cage can't expand. Now I'm centered. It doesn't look like it because the shoulder seams are uneven, but my shoulders are centered. Look at the rotations. Look at me standing. I don't know if this is exactly centered horizontal wise, left to right, the camera, right, as far as on the Earth here, but But it is what it is. You know, we have In The Image Clothing Company's 2 prerequisites. You know, when we talk about where clothing sits, and then our 2 prerequisites, and check it out where you find us. But just to not alter the body, and I've said since the very founding, if I were to go a third with another prerequisite, although we won't, it would be the dreaded collar seam modification. Out of anything you can modify in clothing ever, it's your neck. It's breathing, it's speaking, it's chewing, it's your jaw, stabilizing your entire body, it's your shoulder height discrepancy, then it goes into rotations, and then it goes through your whole body. This is all around the neck. You know, it's your spine and your spinal cord. It's all the musculature connecting anywhere around the collar at all. And that's a lot, okay? We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, but you can kind of hear it. I can kind of hear it as I'm speaking, and I can feel it. It's like, I'm not quite able to like resonate my, you know, speech as well, because it's like pushing against my neck, just because it's not staying centered. So my musculature is just, yeah, the whole body, right? It's about the skeletal system, but there's just a lot that's going on damage-wise from a small little seam. So this is what we are: blunt, bold, raw, and real In The Image Clothing Company. Yeah, that's where I'll leave this, okay? That dreaded collar seam modification. And look out for it. If you see me wearing this shirt again, it won't cause me to do this. I'm standing just, you know, so uneven because I'm just being pulled down with gravity. You know, one of the biggest things we deal with as human beings is just gravity on our earth. You know, with everything we do in our lives, it's mostly just about dealing with gravity. Yeah, y'all, I really feel that against my neck. See, there's this play over here, but there's not over here because it's just sitting against my neck. Yikes. And you'll see people's scapulas, those big bones on the upper back, just sit uneven to where the right one is up and off the rib cage. It's just because of that seam. I mean, it can come from shoelaces clear down at your feet and throughout the whole body. We talk about all of that, but this causes a lot of other things to be imbalanced as well, from this end or any other end up to here. Yeah, anyway. I mean, there's just only a center line, you know, and it just has to be as even as it can be. So what I was saying is that's all our modification does in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. It allows that seam to just kind of drop back, and it also allows it to just be more pliable, because that's the problem. It's so stiff that any movement you do in life, it's just not going to move. And the rest of this collar is so nice and soft, 100% cotton through the whole shirt. The seam's soft material, it's just thick, bulky, and it just can't move. All right, so then it causes us to be like this. Golly, it's annoying. And you see people go through life and go through their day, and they're like doing this, you know, like shimmying. What they're trying to do is what In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification does: drop this down. They'll just be doing things in life, you know, and well, first of all, so imbalanced, and so then they'll try to, like, all right, let's go throughout my day now, right? Adjust themselves, go 10 steps or whatever, and then adjust themselves again. We need the seams to just be sitting evenly. When I talk about where clothing sits, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna say much more in this video because this is just very specifically mostly a visual. Even this, trying to like put my hands on my hips, it's like I fall over to my right side and just rotate off to my right side. Oh man, you know, it collapses your right foot arch. It just, I mean, and we'll, you know, I have we talk about it so much. I just wanted to show it. Well, and then you're trying to, like, you know, fix the tail of your shirt as well, because up here it moves off, and so then it moves off down here, so then you just feel like you have to adjust your clothing all the time. And if you ever have to adjust your clothing in life, ever, that means it's in your way. That means your body, with only one way that it could ever work, is being altered by a tiny seam, and we can't overlook it because it's affecting all of our entire lives. The whole right side of the face is just being pulled off to the right, you know. A lot of that's just because certain musculature can't even work when there's just something in its way. And so our bodies just get so imbalanced. I mean, it gets so deep. We talk about it so deeply, but right, it's crazy. Because I haven't worn a shirt like, like this, as in this imbalanced, in, I mean, a long time, like a year probably, because I modify it. It's really fine. I mean, shirts with the collar seam, if you do In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, they really are not all that bad. It just needs to have motion. I mean, it just needs to relax back. So check it out where you do. It's just a pair of scissors, one little, about a millimeter snip. That's really all it is. Maybe 1.5 millimeters. Just right where that collar seam is, we show it. And there you go. It's not seen from the outside. And the cut that you make, it's so small. It just allows for a little bit of motion to that collar seam, and then we can sit much more evenly. We just need to oppose. Look, see, it doesn't rest down on the neck. And this side just does. I mean, it just can move. Well, I say that and then it's not so much, but you can just tell. See what I mean? It just doesn't have the pliability. There you go. I mean, that's a good thing to show. That's what I've been showing the whole time, but now you can just really see it. See this? I mean, it's so pliable. It's just the collar, just like the rest of the entire collar, until you get right there, and it just doesn't move. It doesn't flex, and that just causes the whole body to be just off balance. I mean, your head's right above the musculature of your neck and your jaw, and all this is going into what's happening in this collar. We've got so many videos talking about all these muscles that really just play into what the body's doing, and it's all coming in the ways that it is from this tiny little seam. And look at the way I'm standing. I'm like this. I'd normally be standing here. My left foot's clear out forward, and my right foot's back here, and my lower back's like down. Just imagine what it would do to have the seam there. And you don't have to imagine it, this, but a lot of people don't know this. We're experiencing it. If we're ever wearing a shirt that just has an imbalance around our centered neck, but we don't really know it, even though we know it. You know what I mean? That's so funny to say like that, because that's the case. And look at how I'm talking. Again, I mean, hundreds of hours of visual context of me up until this point as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, speaking in front of a camera. And look at me. I mean, I can't even get centered. That's the point of this beautiful video, is to show why we call it the dreaded collar seam. Because every time I relax my hands, my whole body is dreading being inside of this imbalanced collar. That's why we call it that. Oh, context, there was a tag in the rear. I removed it, right? We do that. We do that. Check us out. I don't know why. I feel like I'm not supposed to even say much more about who we are as In The Image Clothing Company in this, other than just really discuss the collar seam. And then point you to In The Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification. Just found wherever you find us. Look up our 5-word name as a whole. There you go. Okay. So thank you. Like I said, today's the 25th of October, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Stick around for the poodles and do that modification. I know it's tiny. I know it seems like maybe it wouldn't do much of anything at all. It'll change your entire life. As well as we have so much free information, free modifications, and just how to allow the body to work. We all work the same way, designed in the image of Jesus Christ, right? In The Image Clothing Company. Our information is universal. It'll never change. It's nothing to do with clothing. It's everything to do with the human body, and whatever we place on it clothes the human being. Okay, so thank you.